It's not too different, Kevin. It was kind of a thing that built as the year went on last year. It's more of we're kind of just starting that way this year. But his versatility, I thought, was really on display, last Sunday night. He can do so many different things. He's so talented and gifted. He's got such a physical presence where you can play him all over the place. But for him to be able to make plays on the outside, make plays on the inside, you'll be able to activate him in a variety of different ways. He's going to get more play opportunities. And the more play opportunities Jalen Ramsey has, the better it is for the Rams football team. And I think it's a really great display of his football acumen. I think, he's so physically gifted, but he is so gifted above the neck as well. The game makes sense to him, and his ability to pick things up quickly. He brings great feedback to Raheem and the defensive coaches. He's got great thought processes in terms of recognizing concepts, ways to defend it, what to anticipate and what to expect. And, you guys have heard me say this before about people, but the game makes sense to Jalen. And so it's not too different. It's just starting this way as opposed to it kind of being a build like it was last year. I think he's kind of one of one. I think that he can make an influence where, hey, you're saying who are these premier shutdown corners on the outside? He can do that. And then who are these guys that can bump inside and really affect and influence the game? I think about when I first started, coaching the guys that were really the premier nickels or stars, as we call it. You're talking about the Rondé Barbers, the Antoine Winfields. But Jalen is so big and he's so physical, and we can utilize him where, if you look at last week, he's taking on offensive linemen and snapping them back pretty good and blowing plays up. And it was, if you just watched him the whole game, you'd say that guy is a unique, special talent that plays with great energy and passion every single snap.
Sean, as a coach, what's it like to have a defensive back or cornerback like Jalen who's so willing to be physical? Because there are some notable cornerbacks who don't really want to be part of that.
Yeah, it's awesome, Lindsay. All the great defenses, all 11 tackle. And, when you have a guy that's such a tone setter on your back end like that, it just affects everybody else. I always say that, or, I've heard it said before that the best people, they make others around them better. And I think he's really raising the level of play and the expectations, the toughness, the competes that we're looking for everybody. And Jalen's done that at a really high level. It's really fun to be around.
What kind of challenges does that present against offensively when you're going against a cornerback who is that physical and can be that kind of player in terms of run support, but also drop back and make a difference?
Yeah, it's equivalent to, the Alvin Kamaras or these joker types of players, the Wallers, the Kittles that can do a lot of different things that you don't really know how they're going to be activated, but they're going to influence and affect the game. And that's what Jalen's doing for our defense. He's so versatile. He can play inside. He can play outside. You can blitz him. You can drop him in coverage. He can literally set the edge on a defense. You're not limited in any ways that you want to be able to utilize him. And he's got, great ability to handle that, and the capacity is something that I think is as special as anything in addition to those physical things we're talking about.
I was going to ask, as a play caller, when you know he's the read, especially on some backside stuff, not knowing where he's going to be when you come out of the huddle, how difficult is it to kind of see and adjust when you've got maybe 30 seconds?
It's really tough, Steve. And I also think it's a credit to Darius Williams' ability to be able to play outside and inside. To be able to do that with those same 11 bodies on the grass, but you don't know, is he inside, is he outside? I think it's a real credit to those players, number one, and also the creativity of some of our defensive coaches to be able to activate them in those right scenarios and situations. But it's a problem. It's something that, in a lot of instances you're saying, oh, man, I'm glad those guys are on our team.
To follow game specific, when you saw how Indianapolis on tape adjusted to what Seattle did, knowing Seattle runs a lot of the same concepts that you do, you think you have a pretty good read, at least conceptually, as to what they do, kind of know the chain man runs, kind of the same stuff?
Yeah, there were some good clips in some of those normal downs, but one of the things that I think Coach Eberflus does a great job of, Steve, they've got an identity on early downs. They do a really good job. They're fundamentally sound. They play hard. They're a penetrating front. They'll stir the front a little bit depending upon what they're doing on the back end. And then he does a really nice job of having designer ways of attacking you in some of those known pass downs. So anytime that you have a similar offensive approach, whether you're saying, okay, it's Seattle with Shane, It's, the San Frans, the Green Bays, the Cincinnatis, Atlanta now, that's always helpful film because you're saying, okay, we're seeing similar types of formations, similar types of things that maybe we would do, but it was a small inventory, but they're a really good defense. They play really sound, and they've got excellent players at some of the key spots, and you can see they do a nice job building around those guys.
Sean, I'm not sure if I'm gonna maybe phrase this correctly, but in terms of just expanding your offense and some of the things that even little tweaks and little things that are maybe slightly shifted or different from some of the concepts you had run in the past, even in this opener. What is it? Is having Matthew one of the advantages in terms of having more possible solutions to presented problems?
Yeah, I think you can do so many different things. You're not limited in any way that you can utilize him. And I think what you're saying is, we can do some stuff underneath the center. We were in the shotgun a lot more than what you've typically seen in some of those early downs. We have a lot more things that we're doing both in the gun and underneath the center that you're presenting to the defense. And that was something that I don't necessarily know if it's exclusively Matthew. It's, hey, let's be honest with the self-scout and making sure that you're presenting a variety of different things to the defenses to try to keep them honest. And so last week was a small representative example of being able to do some of those things. It always starts with the quarterback, and Matthew's ability to do all of that makes you, more multiple in what you can present as opposed to just exclusively being one thing or the other. And, that's something that we wanted to be intentional about as coaches as well, regardless of players. But Matthew did a great job with that.
As receivers, how have you been able to develop so much versatility? I mean, you never know if Cooper Kupp's in the middle or if he's going for a deep shot. I mean, Van Jefferson, I think, is somebody who caught people by surprise being able to catch something.
Yeah, it's kind of similar to Jordan's question, Lindsay. I think when you've got guys that have the capacity and the capability to do it, you want to make sure that you keep people honest. So it's not just, all right, they're only doing this. You always want to play to players' skill sets and their strengths, but like I've kind of said to you guys, really all of our receivers, they have the ability short, intermediate, and being able to make plays down the field. And so that was an important thing for us to be able to establish. A lot of those things are predicated on, okay, what are we trying to get done? What's the intent of those plays? But it's something that our coaches have done a really good job of trying to really put those guys in the right spots, but ultimately those players delivering. And that's something that, you want to continue to see week in and week out.
Sean, kind of going back to the defense for a minute. We look at Aaron as like the gold standard.
Yeah.
Obviously, how much of that do you think rubs off on some of the younger players like a John Johnson and guys that we've just seen be so good so fast?
Yeah, I think it's an absolute example of Aaron's greatness, Maria. He's the way that he goes about his business. It really reminds me of when my grandpa talks about some of the greats that were in San Fran when he was there, whether it's Joe Montana, Jerry Rice, when Dion was there for that year. But those guys, they raised the standard of everybody. And it's kind of similar to what I was talking about with Jalen. But Aaron is so steady. He's the most consistent player I've ever been around. And the way that he approaches practice, the way that he approaches games, the way that he prepares both on and off the field, and then just the competitiveness. You talk about a guy that's intrinsically motivated. I'd like to find somebody that's more motivated than he is and has higher standards than he does for himself. But when you have somebody that's great like that, he raises the level of our whole building, and including myself. And so really grateful to work with a player like him and a lot of the players that we do have, but he definitely has an influence and an effect that is very tangible for us, and it's been that way ever since I've been here.
And John, follow up on Aaron. I know people are saying it match with him and Quentin Nelson. That'll be more of a sometime thing than a full-time thing because of Aaron's versatility.
Absolutely, Steve. Quentin's a great guard. They've got a really good physical offensive line, and they do a great job catering to those guys' skill sets, and two backs that are excellent. You know that Carson has great athleticism if they decide to activate him as well. But it will be a sometimes thing based on the personnel, some of the front mechanics, and different things that we want to be able to present to them. But that'll be definitely a good 5-star matchup when those guys are lined up against one another.
Sean, you had said Darryl played most of that game just because of the flow of it.
Yep.
Do you go into this game with kind of a concentrated effort to get Sony some earlier
I wouldn't say that. You know, I think you have confidence that you can utilize him if need be, but Daryl, I thought, did a great job, and Daryl's going to start the game. We want to really get him into the flow of it, and that was really a large part of it too, Gary, is that the first half didn't really even represent him getting into the flow of the game because we had so few touches in the run game. But you do want to be able to say, hey, if we're able to sustain drives, be able to get some things off, you know, could you expect to see Sony? That's a possibility, but, you know, Daryl's a guy that's done a really nice job, and I was really pleased with how he got stronger as the game went on. Okay, thanks, guys.